The federal government's on-book debt, which includes the present value, or which excludes the present value obligation for benefits that have been promised, now exceeds $30 trillion, an amount in excess of $90,000 for every man, woman, and child in the country. If elected to Congress, will you put forward a balanced budget amendment, and what would be the key provisions of your proposal?
Yeah, so just being reminded of our federal debt right now is startling and shocking as I was just sitting there, being reminded of our over 30 trillion in debt that we have. That is absolutely uncompassionate, inhumane what our government is doing to our kids and grandkids and great-grandkids. We should not be shouldering the next generations with this type of debt. So first off, I would very much 100% support a constitutional amendment to balance the budget. I may have already mentioned it here, but I want to make sure that's very clear. And I think in terms of that constitutional balanced budget amendment, what I would say is that it really needs to be binding. It needs to really force the federal government, as well as the legislatures, as well as the executive branch, to have to find a way to make the budget work. Again, as a small business owner, I've mentioned, my background is that when you look at the bank account, you have what you have, and what you don't have, and you have to make tough decisions. And so long, legislators have been kicking the can down the road. We have to have a get it done now mentality, and that's what I'm going to bring to Congress. Thank you.
I'm a realist. When Ronald Reagan was president, he couldn't get past a balanced budget legislation or reform. So I'm just being a realist to say that I doubt that that's going to happen. However, I'm the best positioned of any of my opponents to really attack the problems that we have with the overspending in the federal government. So I mentioned a few ways I would do it. That would be to eliminate departments and programs that really have no business being in federal hands, and they should go back to the states. I also think that we should take a 10% cut to all departments across the board, and then really dig into some of the programs and some of the funding that is going on right now. I mentioned some of the 1.2 trillion that was using for infrastructure, and I'm finding out that actually that money isn't being used for infrastructure. So we really have to look at these things program by program.
I absolutely support a balanced budget amendment, and here's why. The problem is, for the last several years, we have funded our government through continuing resolutions. And what that is that's these big comprehensive mega bills that are in the hundreds of billions to trillions of dollars. Our government is supposed to be funded by September 30th of every year with, I believe, 13 appropriations bills. That hasn't happened in several years. And every time we do a continuing resolution where our hair is on fire and we're going to shut down the government, guess what? Billions of dollars of pork gets added. Everybody gets their pet project added, and that's why it blows up to be $1 trillion. And that's why we're $30 trillion in debt. So we've got to, number one, balanced budget amendment. Number two, we've got to actually pass the appropriations bills that are required so that we can eliminate the hair is on fire continuing resolutions.